right, let's start. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on BIS requirement for footwear products in India. I am Avni Kumar Patkur, heading India Sales and Marketing with Cotecna CPS. Agenda for today's webinar is to discuss and understand the importance of the BIS process to be followed for the footwear testings, along with the standards to ensure that the end products are BIS compliant. Now, before we get into the details of the BIS regulations, I would like to brief you about our organization. Cotecna is a Swiss-based company founded in 1974, and as on date, it has expanded its footprints across the globe in more than 50 countries with presence of 140 offices and labs with 7,300 plus employees. We are glad to share with you all that this year Cotecna is celebrating its 50 years of service delivery in TIC industry. Cotecna CPS has state-of-the-art laboratories in India. We have complete capabilities for soft lines, hard lines, leather and footwear testings, electrical and electronic product testings, toys and analytical testings, along with the inspection services. In Bangladesh, we can cater to the requirement for soft lines, leather and footwear, and analytical testings. And in Dubai lab, we have capabilities to deliver on soft lines, hard lines, leather and footwear, toys testing, and analytical testings. At all the three laboratories in India, Dubai, and Bangladesh, we have complete capabilities to deliver on the testing requirements for fashion footwear, safety footwear, PPE products, gloves, bike riding boots. And along with these facilities, we are also supporting our clients for the CE certifications. We have a very capable team of inspectors in our inspections and audit team with capabilities for inspections of all product categories. And we can offer inspections not only in India, but also in Sri Lanka, China, Bangladesh, Vietnam, Malaysia, Brazil, and Pakistan as well. Moving on ahead, at the end of the webinar, we shall be having a Q&A session. So if you have any questions or queries, you may please note it down and ask our expert panel. Also, you can raise your questions in the chat box. Now, I would like to introduce our eminent speaker for the day, Mr. Anirudh Sharma, who is AGM Leather Footwear Business, and he's also the technical lead with us today. Over to you, Mr. Sharma.
Yeah, thank you, Avni. Thank you, Avni, for giving a brief, details on the Cotecna, its operation across the world. I think that will give an idea to all our audience what Cotecna are doing right now. So good afternoon, all. Avni has already introduced me. So I am Anirudh Sharma, AGM, taking care of operation part of footwear, PP, and leather in India. So let's start our presentation. My next slide, please, Dana. So before starting my presentation, let me know you that in my presentation I will try the topics on BIS. What is the BIS? What is the BIS QCOs? Like BIS issued some QCOs recently. We will discuss some critical tests which are required across the standards. And finally, we will discuss what is the process to get the BIS license. Next slide, please. So first, we should understand what is the BIS. So BIS is a national standard body which helps in regulating the standards of the products in India. At present, BIS has a lot of offices in India. They have some labs also which help in which they are doing the testing. Along with the BIS lab, they have also nominated some private labs who help them to getting the testing as per the BIS standards. So BIS has the complete capability, and the lab which are nominated by the BIS, they have also complete capability to perform the testing. BIS certification product is encouraged by the government because of the many reasons. First reason, it provides a safeguard to the public health. Like if, for example, you can understand like if a product which is certified by the BIS and like we are talking about the footwear. So if footwear is tested for a slip resistance test or bonding test or flexing test, it means that would be helpful in safeguard of the end user. If product is passed in the slip resistance test, it means that during the use, product will not be slip. Or if it is passed in the bonding test, it means that when the end user is using a footwear, bond will not be open. Second point, it provides quality assurance. BIS give the license to the manufacturer for that product which fulfill all the requirement according to the BIS test standard. If all the raw materials are complying with the standards, it means the quality of the product is very good and end user can easily reliable on the product which he is using. Third point, it protects the consumer from hazardous products. BIS certification product is ensure that the all chemicals which are very very which are very critical to the human skin are they do not have the hazardous chemical in the product like azo, phthalate. All these tests are under the regulating act. Fourth one is promotes the consumer confidence. It means the product which is used by the end user, it is certified by BIS. It means it will be able to it will be able to exist for longer time without deteriorating the quality of the product as well as the value also. Next point. BIS certification for footwear. Recently, according to the recent notification by DPITT, all footwear manufacturers are required to have the BIS certificate. Recently, BIS has issued 25 QCOs for different products, and all the products are complied to those standards applicable to the product. So once BIS has given the license, it is mandatory for all manufacturers that they could put the ISI marks on their footwear. Without selling the product in the market without without ISI mark, it will be a legal offense, and BIS can give a high penalty to the manufacturer who sell the product without ISI marks. ISI marks is also important for all distributors, sellers, and the product which are imported from outside the India. They also require the ISI marks. Next point. Next slide, please. Why the benefit of BIS certification? So if you see, if you get the BIS license, then this ensures that your product which is registered by the BIS are bound to follow the certain standard while manufacturing the goods. Second, this gives the authenticity to BIS certified product as they deliver high quality performance and reliability. Third, BIS certified products minimize environment risk because they are already tested by the chemical, and it proved that if they are passed, then they do not have the hazardous chemical. It's provided the user of certain chemical and material under its prescribed norms. And if after testing, if BIS issue the license, it means that the product is ensuring quality inspection and high quality of the product also. Next slide, please. So in this slide, as recently BIS issued 25 QCOs for different products. So after going the 25 QCO quality control standard, we have selected some critical tests, which are same across all the test standard. So we have selected the impact test and compression test, which are required for the safety footwear. Then whole shoe flexing test, which is required for all type of general footwear as well as fashion footwear. A slip resistance test, which is required for all type of footwear. Upper outsole bond strength. This is also required for all type of footwear. It may be sports shoe, general shoe, fashion shoe, or safety shoe. Outsole flexing test. This is for flexing of outer sole. Abrasion resistance of lining, which is required for all type of lining. It may be leather, synthetic, or textile. Then for Hawaii chappal and fashion footwear, we have selected strap to outsole. Next slide. Then toe post attachment, outsole abrasion resistance, color softness to rubbing, which we perform on the upper material. Then energy absorption test, which is required for the safety footwear as well as for the fashion footwear. Hydrolysis test, water vapor permeability test, and last one is upper flexing test. So these 15 tests are mentioned in all the standards which are issued by the BIS. So we will discuss as these are the very critical tests. So I will explain you how we do how we perform this test and what type of remedies you can take in case if there is any failure. Next slide, please. Yeah. So this is the impact test which we perform on the safety footwear and follow the standard IS 15298 part 2. So in impact test, actually impact test is performed on the steel toe cap or non-metallic toe cap. The object of this test is to ensure that the foot fingers of the end user may be safe in case any heavy object falls suddenly on the foot fingers or foot on of the user. So if you see, there is a toe cap, and on the toe cap there is a striker. So this striker we falls on the toe cap from a height of 1 meter, and then we put a modeling clay inside this toe cap, and we measure the final thickness of the clay after falling the striker. This toe cap we cut from the complete footwear. There should be complete accessory like toe cap should have the upper lining, insole and outsole also. To do this test, what we do, we have the china clay inside the toe cap. We fold the objects on the toe cap, and then we measure the thickness. So depending upon the size, there are different type of thickness. Like if you are doing the impact test on size 36 and you see the table in the slide, then the minimum requirement should be 12.5 mm. It means we put the 25 mm clay inside the toe, and when we force the striker on the toe cap, it should not be less than 12.5 if the size of the shoe is 36. Accordingly, there are different size of shoe like 37, 39, 41, 42, 43. So depending upon the size, requirement may be increasing. If you are using 42, then the minimum clearance of the modeling clay should be 14 mm. This impact test we perform on two types of toe. One is 200 joule and second one is 100 joule. So 200 joules is used for the safety footwear, while 100 joules toe cap is used for the protective footwear. Next slide, please. This is the compression test which we perform on safety shoe as well as the protective shoe also. This test we perform because the object of this test is to check the compression of the toe cap. Sometimes what happen, there is something which fall on your foot finger and it continuously under the object. You cannot take out your foot from the object. So your foot is completely compressed. So we do this test to check the compressed strength of the toe cap. There is there is a modeling clay inside the toe cap on which we give the compression till 15 kN if it is toe cap used in for the safety footwear, and 10 kN if we use the footwear for protective footwear. So after kN, we release the pressure and then we observe that how much how much this modeling clay is compressed. The requirement will remain same according to the size as I show you in previous slide. Like if it is the size 42, the modeling clay thickness should be 14 mm. Next slide, please. These are the recommendations to get the better result for compression as well as the impact test. So it is always advisable that if you are using the toe cap, so it should be tested before using in the complete footwear. Like neck toe cap or raw material toe cap should be tested with an accredited lab. If it is passed, then the toe cap should be used in the final product. Also, to get the better result, best quality of outsole, insole should be used, because if it outsole or insole is not in better quality, there is a chance that compression or impact test may be failed. Along with outsole and insole, sole should also be not so softer or so harder. Proper insole must be fitted inside the shoe, and better quality of toe cap must also be used inside the shoe. Next slide, please. This is the whole shoe flex test which we perform in the fashion footwear actually. So whole shoe flex test is performed to check the durability during the using of the end user. In this whole shoe flex test, we do the complete shoe flexing till a specified number of cycles. It may be 30,000 or 40,000 depending upon the standards requirement. And during that test or after the test, we observed that during the walking there should not be any crack as well as no bond opening from inside and outside joint. when you user use the footwear and he walks along with the footwear, so sometimes during the walking bonds open from inside or outside joint, as well as there is a chance that your complete footwear may be cracked from the outsole or upper may be cracked. So this is the complete footwear flex test, which will give you an idea regarding all the materials which are used in the footwear. Along with this whole shoe test, whole shoe flex test, there is one more test which is whole shoe flex test in water. So this test is performed for the footwear which claim for the waterproof footwear. So for that waterproof, what we do, we flex the test in water, and then we observe the point from where the water is penetrating inside the shoe. So there is a chance that water could penetrate either from any joints or the seam where the seam where some little holes are there. So we observe that from where water is going to be penetrate. We observe the area and then accordingly we report that how much water absorbed from which area. Next slide, please. This one is the slip resistance test which we perform on all type of footwear, whether it may be safety footwear or fashion footwear. So for slip resistance test, we measure the coefficient of friction. We have the shoe with different class and we fit in the machine to check the coefficient of friction. And this test we perform in different surfaces, in different condition also. Like the slip resistance test we perform in the dry condition, in wet condition also. And we have different type of floor depending upon the test standard. Like it may be ceramic tile with water or glycerin on the steel floor, as well as different type of carpet also. So depending upon the client requirement, we do the slip resistance in different condition. Slip resistance test we perform in three conditions, which I will show you in the next slide. Next slide, please. So if you see, there are three positions to perform the slip resistance. One is forward heel slip. Second one is backward forward slip, and third one is the flat condition. So end user when use this footwear, he walks in three condition, either in forward heel slip or in backward forward split or in flat split. So in all these three positions, we check the coefficient of friction and we give the value in dry as well in wet condition. Next slide, please. This is the bonding test we perform in all type of footwear, and this test we perform between upper and outsole or outsole or midsole. So for this test, we cut the strip from the joints of the shoe, inside joint and outside joint, and then we slightly open the layer, and then we do the bonding test, calculate the value in Newton per mm. It's a very simple test. As you see in the picture also, you will see that how we put the samples in the machine and how we open different layer during the bonding test. Next slide, please. So here you will see the type of failure. There are three or four types of failure. Sometimes during the bonding lab observe that there is no adhesive between the layers. Sometimes we observe that adhesive is good, but the strength of the material is so poor that they cannot resist. Third one, sometimes outsole material which is very soft may be tear, or sometimes there is no roughing in the upper, so bond can easily be open. Next slide, please. Here the failures of the bonding test when lab perform the test, what type of regions they observe during the testing. First one is the adhesive failure. It means either maybe manufacturer is using the poor quality of adhesive. They are not applying the adhesive properly. Second, improper roughness during the making the process of bonding test. Upper should be roughed properly. If upper material, it may be leather. For the leather, if it is not proper rough, then adhesive will not penetrate inside the material, and then no bonding would be not there will not be any bonding. So at proper roughness must be required. Poor material, like if you are using the poor material, that will not take the strength and it will open or tear. Last one is the fault in the process. Sometimes heating time either is very less or maybe very high, or application of the adhesive is also not proper. Sometimes labor do not use the proper adhesive or very less adhesive. They apply very less adhesive on the component, so bond will not be happen. So for getting a good result on the bonding test, manufacturer has to be ensured that all these points must be followed properly. Next point, next slide. Here you will find the flexing resistance test, different type of flexing resistance tests which we perform on the outsole material. So there are three types of flexing tests. One is Bata belt, second one is Banawat flexing test, and third one is the Ross flexing test. The difference among all these flexing tests is that Bata belt we perform on the PU material or the sole which has the lower density. In this flexing test, we stitch the material on the belt, and we have a mandrel of 90 degrees. We have three mandrels like 60 mm, 90 mm, and 120 mm. And depending upon the thickness of the outsole, we use different type of mandrels and we do the flexing. In band flexing, we perform till 50,000 cycles or depending upon the requirement of client. Second one is the Barney flexing test. This perform in the complete outsole. Like the outsole should have the proper insole. What we do, we cut the samples from the shoe and then we mark the flexing line. In flexing line, we mark three cut of 2 mm. We insert three cuts of 2 mm, one in center and two in the edges. And then we put the outsole in the machine till 30,000 cycles. And before or after 30,000 cycles, the initial cut, the initial cut which was of 2 mm should not be greater than 4 mm or 6 mm depending upon the requirement. Sometimes what happens, cut is not increasing, but sole cracks on the design. So we also observe from which region or which area sole is going to be cracked. That we report in our test report. Third one is the Ross flexing test. This test basically perform on the raw material when there is no pattern on the outsole. For this test, we put one cut of 2 mm, which should not be greater than 6 mm after 1,50,000 cycles. And this test we always perform on the low temperature. Next slide, please. Region of the failure, sometimes when we perform all type of flexing, so these are the common reason for all type flexing, either pattern or design of outsole. Sometimes there are very sharp pattern on the outsole. This may cause the cracks in the outsole. If thickness of the outsole is high, then it also may be the reason of the failure, and hardness of material also play an important role in all type of flexing. Next slide, please. This test is lining abrasion. We perform on this is the Martindale abrasion which we perform on the lining. And lining, this may be of leather, textile, or synthetic. So according to the standard, we do the abrasion test. And this abrasion we perform in two conditions, one in dry and second one in wet. So in dry, we do the 25,600 cycles, and in wet, we perform 12,800 cycles. And after completion of cycle, material should not develop any hole. If there is any hole, it means the material is failed. Likewise, we have the tear strength test, which is very simple test, and we observe that at what load the material is going to be tear. Next slide, please. This is the strap to outsole and toe post attachment test, which generally perform on the Hawaii chappal as per IS 10702 and on fashion sleeper or sandal as per IS 6721. So the object of this test is to perform like it at what load the straps and toe post is coming out from the sample. So we put the sample like if you as you see in the picture, and we take the maximum, we calculate the maximum load and report accordingly. Next slide, please. This is the abrasion resistance test of the outsole. Abrasion resistance we perform on all type of footwear, like it may be PU, PVC, resin rubber, vulcanized rubber, or any type of outsole except leather outsole. So we calculate the volume loss, like total weight, we calculate the total weight and we calculate the density, and then accordingly we report the volume loss. For sole abrasion, there are two type of requirement which is based on the density. There are two type of requirement. If the density is cellular sole which has the density less than 0.9 and the outsole which has the density greater than 9, both have different type of requirement. There in BIS standard, no requirement is based on the type of material. They have clearly mentioned the requirement on the basis of the density of the outsole. Next slide, please. This is the color fastest to rubbing test which we perform on upper material, on lining material, and we observe that how much color migrates from the upper material to the surface which is in contact with that material. So we use the felt pad and we do the rubbing till number of cycle, like it may be 100 cycles in dry condition and 50 cycles in the wet condition, and then we observe the color migration from one surface to another surface. And for rating purpose, we use the grayscale rating, and according the minimum requirement is 3. If value is coming below 3, it means the sample is failed. And if you see, there are two type of felt pad in which one is very color and one is white. So it means the color migrates from surface to the felt pad. So accordingly, we give the rating and give the pass fail status in our test report. Next slide, please. This is the energy absorption test which is performed on the safety footwear on the sport footwear. The purpose of this test is like if end user is walking, so energy is absorbed by the insole or the outsole. If proper energy is not absorbed by the outsole, then it may cause a pain in the foot of the end user. So energy absorption test is performed to see the quality of the footwear, how much energy absorbed by the outsole and the shoe. There are two type of requirement, as I told you that this test is performed on two types of footwear. One is the safety footwear and second one on the sports footwear. So if it is the safety footwear, then the requirement must be greater than 20 joules, and for sports footwear it should be greater than 15 joules. Next slide, please. Hydrolysis test. This test is performed on all PU material. PU may be the outsole or PU may be the upper outsole. What we do, actually we put the samples in a desiccator and the complete assembly we put at 70 degrees C and 95% RH for 7 days. After 7 days, we observe the material if there is any crack develop or not. In case if there is no crack develop, we do further flexing at low temperature. Like for outsole, we do the Ross flexing test at -5 degree temperature. And if there is upper, we do the belly flexing or vamp flexing test at -5 degrees C. And after that, we check that there is any crack or not. If there is no crack, then it means that material is hydrolysis resistant. If it is failed, then it means that product cannot be put at the high temperature or humidity. Next slide, please. This is the upper flexing test, which is known as the belly flexing test. And of this test, objective of this test is to check the flexibility of upper material. The upper material may be leather or maybe synthetic, and we do 1 lakh number of cycles, and within 1 lakh number of cycles, the upper should not develop any crack. Next slide, please. This is the water vapor permeability test which we perform on the, as per standard, it should be performed on the textile material also. The objective of this test is to check the breathability of the material. Like if material is not breathable, so end user will feel the uncomfortable, because if there is any sweating inside the shoe and material is not permeable, then sweating will not be dry, and this may cause itching or allergy to the end user. So this test is very important, and all the materials which are using in the upper or lining must be tested for the water vapor permeability test. Next slide, please. Now this is the important part, like BIS QCO and BIS quality control orders. Recently, BIS has issued a notification in which they issued almost 25 QCOs for different categories of footwear. So BIS had divided footwear in three categories. The first one is footwear made from leather and other material. The second one is footwear which is made from all rubber and all polymeric material. And third one is the personal protective equipment in which they cover all the safety and protective footwear. Next slide. So these are the QCOs which are issued by the BIS. This is for leather and other material. So if you see, there are total 12 QCOs issued under this category. So first one is the leather safety boots and shoes. Second one is canvas shoes with rubber sole. Third one is canvas boot with rubber sole. Fourth one is safety boots for the minor. Fifth one is leather safety footwear having direct molded rubber outsole. Sixth one, leather safety and protective footwear within direct molded polymeric sole. Seventh, the sports footwear, and sports footwear is again divided in three categories. The part one is for the general purpose. Second, next slide, please. Part two for the performance sports footwear, and part three for professional sports footwear. Likewise, another one is high ankle tactical boot with pure rubber sole, then anti-ride shoes, and then shoes for the service and general purpose. There are this standard has recently issued by the BIF. There are two type of footwear. The part one is shoe for the services and part two shoe for the general purpose. So these are the QCOs which are issued for leather and other material. Next slide, please. And these are the QCOs for the footwear which are made from all rubber and all polymeric material, like it may be PU or rubber material. So there are 10 QCOs issued under this category. The first one is industrial and protective rubber knee and ankle boots. Second one, all rubber gum boots and ankle boots. Molded rubber outsole. Microcellular rubber sheet for outsole. Molded PVC outsole, sandal and slipper, which is as per 6721, which is highly required by the Indian market as of now. Next one. Next slide, please. This is for Hawaii chappal. Then polyvinyl PVC industrial boot, polyurethane outsole, unlined molded rubber boots, molded plastic footwear, lined or unlined polyurethane boots for general industrial use, and last one is the footwear for men and women for municipal and scavenging work. Next slide, please. And these three QCOs are for the safety footwear. Like this is for part two for the safety footwear. Part three is the protective footwear. I told you that what is the difference between the safety footwear and protective footwear. Safety footwear are that type of footwear which has a 200 joule toe cap. Protective footwear is that type of footwear which has the 100 joules toe cap, and the occupational footwear is that type of footwear which does not have the toe caps. But all these come under the PP. Next one. Yeah, before coming to this slide, I will let you know the one important information with you also, that all these QCO will be implemented from 1st August 2024. Recently, BIS has issued a notice, I think on 15th March, that from 1st August onward, all the footwear manufacturers are liable to implement the BIS license according to these standards, except those manufacturers who comes under the MSME. So it is advisable to all local footwear manufacturers that they could get certified, they could get BIS license for their products. Now, this is the process for BIS certification for footwear. Like if you want to apply the BIS, if you want to get the BIS license for your product, what you have to do. So we are giving you the information on step 5. Like step 1, you have to prepare the documentation which is submitting along with the application. So you have to generate your ID and password on the BIS portal. And once you develop this ID and password, then you will find out what type of documentation are required to apply for the BIS license. Once you have the list for the documentation, then the second step is you have to apply, you have to submit the application with request documents to the BIS. Like you will find all the documents which are required to fill along with the application. You have to submit all those documents to BIS website. Then in step 3, BIS official will scrutinize the application. Maybe they can ask you to submit some other documents which are required to issue the license. Once they have scrutinized all the documents, then they will nominate one auditor for the manufacturer who will audit their factory or their premises. Audit of the manufacturing premise by the BIS auditor. Once they nominate any BIS auditor, he will visit your factory and audit all documents and other things. Then after auditing, they will draw some samples for the testing. They will pick some samples from the production, and then they can send the samples to any accredited lab, or they can bring the samples along with them to test in their lab also. Sample testing in BIS approved laboratory, they will send the samples in any laboratory, and if it is passed, then they will grant the license to the footwear manufacturer. So these are the 8 steps in which you can understand how to get the BIS license. Next slide, please. This slide will give you an idea about the documentation which are required to get the BIS license. Like first, you have to do factory registration document and information. This information you have to provide the BIS. Then you have to give them the identity proof. You have to share your manufacturing process flowchart with the BIS official. You have to give them details of authorized signatory and other related document which is requested by the BIS at the time of application. You have to show them the adequate testing facility. In case you have in-house testing facility, you can show them. Otherwise, you can also suggest any lab which to which you are taking the services. You have to show them your quality control parameters and their record also, like at what time or what intervals you are getting your raw material tested from any lab, or if in case you are doing the testing in-house, you have to prepare your documents and you have to show all these documents to BIS auditor at the time of auditing. Next slide, please. And finally, laboratory testing report and other information as BIS norm. You have to show them the test report for your product with relevant test standard. And if BIS satisfied and all your test reports are okay, BIS can review the test report and granted the license to the manufacturer. So this is the complete document requirement for the BIS certification. That is all done from my side, Avni.
Thank you, Mr. Sharma, for the insightful details on regulations, requirements, and the process which is involved for the BIS testing of the footwear products.
Yeah.
And also, thank you very much for sharing the application procedure for the license. So now it's the time for the question and answers. We have received a few questions through the registration process, and I can see that we have received a couple of questions in the chat box also. First, we'll start with the question that we have received through the registration process. So the first question is, the training covered only Indian standards or any other international standards?
Yeah, actually, we covered only the Indian standards which are required by the BIS. We focus on the Indian standard, but in case anyone is interested in any international standard, please let us know. We will prepare another webinar for international standard also.
Okay. The next question, please. If we are manufacturing a product and use a RM, raw material, which falls under BIS, in this case, do we need to get BIS for the intermediary RM, which is a part of the overall product?
Like, BIS is applicable on the manufacture of complete footwear only. There is a chance that the manufacturer to whom you are supplying the raw material, he can request you that your material should be passed through should be passed under the BIS standard. So in that case, you have to submit your raw material, lab will test, and lab can give you the test report. But raw material manufacturer cannot get the BIS license unless or until it is specified under a QCO which are issued by the BIS.
Okay. Next question, please. After completion, certificate will be given from your side.
After completion, this is something very confusing. Completion means what? Like completion means testing completion or process completion. I need some more detail on this.
I believe this question has two aspects. Maybe
Yeah.
first one is that after completion of the test, the license will be issued from our side. So in that case, the answer is no. We can only issue
No.
the
Yeah.
reports, right?
If you are looking to get the license, so license will be issued by the BIS only. No lab has any role in giving the license. Lab can help you in giving the test report as per BIS standard, and license will be issued by the BIS only after once you have the test report from any BIS accredited lab.
All right. Next question, please. What is the difference between type 1 and type 2 footwear?
Yeah. This question is asked from I got this query from many of manufacturer also. So the difference between type 1 and type 2 is that if any manufacturer is applying for type 1, then he needs to get the chemical test also. But in case of type 2, chemical tests are exempted till 31st December 2024. So if you don't want to get the chemical test, you can apply under type 2 category. But if you want for type 1 category, you have to do physical test along with the chemical test also.
Okay. Next question, please. Can Cotecna CPS help us to set a lab inside our premises?
Yeah, of course, if we got the request to set any lab or set any testing protocol or quality document, Cotecna can help.
Okay.
Even we can set the correlation exercise also. Once we set the lab inside your premises, then we give the training to your technician. We can correlate the test result with your lab with us, and then we can find out where is the problem or all test results are matching with our lab or not.
Right. So we have received few questions in the chat box. Mr. James has asked, molded EVA ankle boots will be covered under which standard?
I'm sorry, can you repeat once again, Avni?
Molded EVA ankle boots will be covered under which standard?
Molded EVA. I have to go through the different QCO which I have shown in the my PPT. I would request Mr. James to please send me an email regarding its query. I will revert with complete detail.
Right. Okay. Next question is what is the basic difference between 158441 and 170431 while both standard are for general footwear?
Why 15844 is basically for the sports footwear, while the 17043 is for general footwear.
Okay. So the Mr. Pushpendra is asking what is the basic difference between both of these standards?
No, one is for sports footwear and second one for general footwear. This is for fashion footwear like service footwear or any, but 15844 is totally for the this sports footwear only.
Right.
Yeah.
So Mr. Bose is asking 15844 part 3 for professional sports shoes already released or not?
Yeah, it is released, but it will be implemented from 1st August 2024.
Okay. Right. So we can wait for a couple of minutes to see if anybody has any more questions to ask. Please ask the questions in the chat box. Mr. Bharat Gupta, we have understood your query, and after this webinar is over, we'll get back to you and we can have a discussion on this.
And even if you have any query, you can share with us on the email also. So we will help you to reply your mails and with complete details.
Right. Okay. It seems there are no more questions at the moment. I hope everybody has enjoyed the webinar and it was an insightful session. And if you would like to have any more questions or queries or any information on any of the sections, you can reach out to us at the given address and mail IDs. We will also be sending you a thank you mail with the recording of the webinar and the subscription link for the upcoming events and the newsletters. Thank you once again for joining the webinar. It was wonderful to interact with you all.
Thank you so much, Avni. Thank you so much to all listeners who listened patiently. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dana.
Thank you.